Good, how are you? Good morning. Okay, welcome everyone to the March 18th Loan Committee meeting. Start off on our agenda. Hopefully everyone's read through the minutes. If there are no edits or comments, looking for a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried. So moving on to the portfolio dashboard. Martha.
Thank you. The first client, we have 3 clients on the dashboard. The first one, we had a heart-to-heart conversation with the business owner, and we'll be talking about that in greater detail later in the meeting. The second one is a manufacturing business, and we had a heart-to-heart discussion with that client on Friday, and we expect to see a payment this week. And then we have another restaurant on the list. She's out of town. She's been in touch with us, and she'll make her payment as soon as she returns. Are there any questions on the portfolio?
So I'm using approval. Motion to approve the portfolio dashboard.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried. We'll move on to the first is a loan modification of a current
That's
grant.
correct. We actually expect to rewrite this loan. It was originally a $60,000 loan. The balance is just below $33,000 at this point. And we expect to rewrite it with a 60-month term, a 6% interest rate, and maintain our mortgage on the commercial property. This will save the business owners, I think, roughly $150 a month. And he's amenable to making that change.
And does this, if it's refinanced, does it go to the full board or?
I think we need full board approval. We looked at our loan policy.
Because of the amount of it.
Right.
That's a CEDC loan?
Currently, it's CEDC and SBA, and we really don't want to be this close to a default with the SBA, so it's going to be
So you moving the
CEDC.
whole thing to CEDC.
Correct.
The total is 30,000?
Correct, 32.9.
And you might remember, this was a project where we had over 100,000 originally
Oh, yes.
with the previous owner. And when the restaurant was sold, we had 90,000 outstanding. And now we did what, a $60,000 loan?
Yeah.
And what the balance now is
32.9.
So this is one of those examples where Martha has taken very significant, over 9 years, we've had $150,000 of write-offs. So if we had to have written off that loan when the restaurant was sold, we would have had a almost double 50% increase in our default ratio. But by working with the new buyer and getting some reduction in the outstanding loan from the proceeds of the sale, and then continuing to work with them over the last, 4 years that they've had this loan, get it down to 30, that, the process of being able to have the county loan fund in partnership with the SBA loan fund to balance out the risk and to manage the vagrancies of business has really made this an incredible operation. And this is this is right up there, Martha, with the train.
No.
That was,
No.
or the taco store.
There've been a few. There've been a few. They currently have 2 loans. One is at 7% and one is at 5%. So we split the difference and came up with a 6% rate.
And you're comfortable with it?
Yes.
And how,
Comfortable as you get.
Well, yes,
they're not operating, correct?
they are.
They are, okay.
Yes. Yes, they are.
And you have both, there's 2 owners, right?
Correct.
And you have both, they're both in
They will
this?
both have to sign the documents.
And no new exposures.
Right.
Okay.
And it has been on the market at one point?
It's still on the market as far as I know.
At a significant, enough to pay both bills.
So any more questions?
I'll make a motion, we recommend this to the full board.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried. Thank you. And then next, this is the new Bentley Lawn and Landscape Plan.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So this is Bentley Lawn and Landscape located in Wyndham, Greene County. They are a landscaping service. Their request of us is a $35,000 SBA microloan. over a 72-month note, making a payment of $609.40 per month, interest rate being 7.75%. Purpose of the loan is an equipment purchase and working capital. Our collateral being a lien on business assets and the personal guarantee of the principal. That's Bentley Lawn and Landscape in Greene County.
Martha, could you give a little overview as to why we're doing the loan in Greene County?
Yes, they were referred by James Hannes, who works over there, and so we were happy to try and accommodate. We can only make SBA microloans over there. We can't use CEDC money. $35,000 is about as high as we like to go on an SBA microloan. He feels, we've had several conversations with the owner. I feel confident he understands where he is, which is in a little bit of a cash flow crunch. He understands cash flow very well. He works with UHY. He's got a lot of systems in place. He's using QuickBooks, but not to its fullest extent. And I think we can offer some additional technical assistance to him as well.
Several years ago, go ahead.
Are we the only lender?
No, he has an EIDL loan, as most of our clients do, and he also has significant debt. His equipment is very expensive. I think he owns one truck that was close to $100,000.
Several years ago, there was a SBA micro lender out of the lower Hudson Valley who wrote a letter to the SBA asking to be designated as to expand their footprint to include Columbia and Greene counties. And fortunately, the SBA office in Syracuse gave us a heads up. And when that process occurs, the people in Washington send a letter to the incumbent micro lender in that footprint to ask if you have any comment, whether or not you would be opposed to having this group expand their footprint to offer loans in your area. We did an analysis that showed that the group that was looking to come into the two counties serviced 5 counties in New York State and 2 in Connecticut. They had over 1 million small businesses, under 10 employees in that footprint. And we wrote to the SBA suggesting that when they could adequately show that they were had fully served the 1 million businesses in their district, we'd be happy to have them come help us. And the SBA denied their request. It does raise the issue that we do have the franchise for Columbia and Greene County. And Martha and Steve and I have been looking at ways of partnering more with Greene County, who has a similar county loan fund, so that we're not in a situation where either Greene County itself decides that they would like to be the micro lender for Greene County, and at the same time recognize that CEDC is focused on Columbia County. But remember, the grant monies from the SBA, the $270,000 TA grant, is intended for us to be working in Greene County. So, ultimately, I think I have a plan, and I haven't thought through yet, but I think that it's difficult to explain. But in essence, if our loan program was a standalone entity, which it could, with its $270,000 grant and its $100,000 a year in interest could be, it would serve both counties. And so we do keep records so that the Board of Supervisors who are funding the rest of this operation understand that we're not utilizing county money to support businesses in the other county.
But you're right, we do need to show that we're active in the county.
So we're members of the Greene County Chamber. We attend different events there. We market in their newsletter and other publications that they put out. It is, and they do have their own loan program.
Any questions on concerns for a motion for approval?
It just seems like he has so much debt that there's no explanation.
The explanation is all of his equipment, and he really bought a lot of it in 2021 through 2023. In fact, we really queried him, does he need this trailer? He's buying an additional trailer. Is that an essential piece of equipment? He seems to think it is. But he starts billing in March for his clients, and they pay 50% up front, so money should start flowing in April.
What's he doing winter?
He plows. He and one other employee. Most of his employees go work on the mountain for the winter months,
Yep.
and then they come back in the summer.
But he does plow.
He has a plow, yeah.
When we see the credit card balances that high, do we ever look into how he's paying them? Like,
He's paying them as agreed.
but is that the minimum payment or is he,
Probably in the winter, it's the minimum payment. He has personal debt as well. And so we created a schedule of debt for him so he could look at his personal debt and his business debt. He was looking at all sort of in this universal fashion. And we're going to have him continue to work with Brian Zweig to figure out the best way to, chip away at that.
I think the timing here is great because, going into the season, having contract, not getting $10 every time you mow somebody's lawn. He has a seasonal contract, both for the plowing and for the landscaping, that we really have an opportunity to help him here in a sense that by getting him the additional capital he needs to get the equipment so he can continue to expand his client base. He's also going to have some cash that, working with Brian and working with the schedule that Martha just described, that they've encouraged him to adopt in this business, to be able to make it. If we did this in October, I'd be really concerned. But going into the, and he seems very interested in continuing to manage his business in a global sense, as opposed to what you're pointing out, just keeping all the pieces in sync.
Yeah, I mean, there's the reason I was asked, because like one time I had this one loan with $250,000 credit card balance. I'm like, what the heck? The guy was a dentist and he was putting, like, when they buy crowns and all that, like everything on that, paying it off every month. They sent us a year of statements. The guy had more points than like, so like, but that didn't concern me. But if it was like he's paying $400 on 44,000, it's a little
On a
more
23% interest rate, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Martha, you mentioned he has a lot of debt because of the price of the equipment, yet we have a lien on the assets, so if he has debt on the equipment, how do we have a lien on it?
Well, we'll be in second position
It would be first on his
on the new
piece.
trailer,
Yeah, what about UCC?
which I think is $15,000, yeah.
It was a rough winter too. I mean, it was historically warm, so he's probably hurting, from that.
The thing is, he does have the seasonal contracts. We use a seasonal guy. And, some years you think, well, he made a lot of money, and he didn't really make a lot of money. He didn't have to go out as much. He made the same amount of money as last year.
He's also working with his accountant. He's a DBA presently, to either form an LLC or a corporation, and his accountant has been encouraging him to do that for the past year plus.
And he has been in business since 2012.
Yes, and the business existed before that. It was his father's business.
It's a good example of the help we give people.
Well, it isn't the best loan in the world, but it is what we do. I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so carried. Thank you, Dave. Definitely want approved. Bring to the board. So Martha, you had mentioned some discussion about later and are the.
That was
do we wanna
711
talk-
County Route 3.
Yeah.
That was the one we discussed.
Okay, we already did.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anyone else have any comments? The public comment?
Well, we might have, I got an email from a guy from the American Legion looking to start a lawn care business, and I forwarded it on to Martha, so hopefully that comes down our way. Our portfolio doesn't get too many lawn care businesses, but the community's knowing that we're doing stuff and help out.
I know in Columbia County, our demographics have changed. It was, when I grew up as a kid, I mowed the lawn, and people that come up here and move here, they don't do that. They're looking to get on the phone and hire somebody. So it is a booming business.
Yeah.
I make a few bucks mowing my lawn at the studio, and then I got the two businesses next to me, so I just walk my lawnmower over to them. Take a couple bucks.
I still mow my own lawn.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure it's changed, but I mean, you would probably tell me if it's changed, but Columbia and Greene County used to have one of the highest concentrations of senior citizens than other counties. Is that still the case, or has?
You know, we're an older county.
We're still aging.
Percentage of people on social security here is higher.
Right.
We don't have a breakout as to how much of that is a result of disabled people.
I didn't know if people moving here from the city and stuff like that had changed the demographic at all.
We're, you know, five years ago, before COVID, you know, we had about 2,400 second homeowners. Now we're up to about 12% of the 30,000 homes in the county are owned by second homeowners. 4,200, almost double. And, you know, if you're coming up here for 2, 3, 4 days a week, seasonally, you don't want to be mowing your lawn.
Right, yeah, second homeowners and.
Older
Do
people.
you like that sort of?
Probably would rather hire somebody.
And that's somewhat, I believe, why our unemployment numbers are so low. We're, you know, 48 months running, the first, second, or third lowest unemployment in the state, competing with Saratoga and Tioga counties. And I think it's because of the number of people who are providing lawn care services, snow plowing, you know, cooking, you know, house cleaning. And once someone gets off unemployment, they don't really track them anymore. So you don't know whether they've actually gone back to work or they've picked up sidelines.
And the county's shrinking too, isn't it?
Yeah, we're
Lost
down,
8,000.
yeah, well, that article came out over the weekend. It's down about 1,000 people. So we're, but you'll remember Cornell University did a study 5 years ago that, you know, said we'd be down around 50,000 in 10 years, as opposed to 58 to 60. So, and the real interesting part will be where the second homeowner gets counted. Because, you know, if we've doubled, if we've increased 2,000 from 2,200 to 4,200, you know, there's 5,000 people that if they're not, that used to live here who weren't second homeowners, and if they're being counted in the city, where population's gonna go down just because we can't count them twice. Where previously they were incumbent county residents that were here. But they did say in the report that most of the loss of population in New York State was the Mid-Hudson Valley South. It was not upstate to the degree that they thought. We have one other good news. The SBA puts out a report, and from October 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, fourth quarter, which is really the second quarter in the SBA federal government world, CEDC did 11 microloans for $316,000, followed by Pursuit, which is the former New York Business Development Corporation, which is statewide. They did 7 microloans for $165,000. Adirondack Economic Development did 4 microloans for $142,000, and the Regional Economic Development Council, I believe that's on the southern tier, Martha?
I believe so.
Did $67,000. So we did almost 50% of the microloans in the state from in the fourth quarter of
Wow, that's amazing.
last year.
Yeah, because Pursuit covers multiple states.
Yeah.
All over the place.
So we will tell Jim Conroy that we're the president of Pursuit, that we're that competitive, but he knows we are. So congratulations, Martha and Steve.
Thank you.
Steve, could you just describe the project that we've been working on, which we'll be bringing to the loan committee next month in more detail about the Evergreen?
Okay, yeah, so we, Mike tasked me to try to create a number, if you will, of funds dispersed on a monthly basis from the CEDC fund, that if we maintained that number going forward, that fund would literally be evergreen, would never run out of funds. So I put together a spreadsheet with all sorts of funny formulas and whatnot, and I think we actually have a number that we'll be able to hammer out and present to the committee in April of what would be an evergreen number for the CEDC fund.
And the variables are skewed a little bit because we've always put all the interest back into that fund. And we also have a 15% default rate, which we don't really have ever had, but it will tell us how not to put so much out on the street that you don't have enough coming back to lend next year. And with the SBA money, because it comes in tranches, you get it out on the street and hopefully as long as the program continues, you'll get new.
How big an impact do interest rates have on that?
Well, obviously, when we were doing loans at 3.75% during COVID, and now we're at 7%, they will have a big impact. The other report we have is now that we have the draft audit from UHY for CEDC, we went back and we looked over 9 years. We've put $635,000 of interest back into the engine. Obviously, a good portion of that's been used to fund the 15% tranche that the SBA requires us to, whenever we draw down money, we have to put 15% of the drawdown into a lockbox cash account. And if we weren't using the interest to do that, we would have had to have taken it out of CEDC's operating income or working capital. So, I think the goal is, while we've continued to basically operate at a break-even, not-for-profit goal, this year we'll have a $16,000 net income on $1.1 million of revenue, and we put $25,000 in the loan loss reserve. So we basically, without having done that, we've had about a $50,000, a $40,000 net profit. As long as we are able to continue to put the money back in the fund, what we also have looked at is based on what we owe the SBA. If the whole program ended, we would have over $700,000 that's our money that's in the SBA machine right now, where you have to keep it in there because you've drawn down tranches of funds, or we're overfunded in one or more of the reserve accounts. But not that there was some issue last year as to whether some members of Congress were going to cut back on the SBA, which might impact how much funding we could get in the following year. But it looks like Congress, when they passed the continuing resolution through September 30th of this year, last week, the SBA was in the first bucket, so it wasn't a controversial vote, so it would be okay this year. But the goal of building the county loan fund is, to the extent that the SBA funding is curtailed in the future, that we'll still be in a position to support our efforts. And I think now, Martha, we're almost, when we drew down the $275,000 in January, the total of both loan programs, both what's been lent and what's available to lend, we're up to $3.5 million. And so we have a chart that will show you where we were in 2014, and you can see the growth of the loan fund. And I think, as some of you have pointed out, we do a lot, and therefore it's hard for us to market and focus people on what we really accomplished and what we do well, other than getting that $2 million housing grant and being first amongst all the micro lenders in the state last quarter.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? Concerns? Look to adjourn the meeting with a motion.
Motion to do that here. We'll do that the next
Second.
meeting, basically.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Because then we'll be on that.
Thank you.